Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to my reading journey. Hope we're all doing fantastic, and today we're gonna continue with a new story. It's Dougherty's Eye Opener. So let's do this. Beam Jim Dougherty was a sport. He belonged to that race of men in Manhattan. It is a distinct race. They are the Caribs of the North, strong, artful, self-sufficient, clannish, honorable within the laws of their race, holding in lenient contempt, neighboring tribes, who bow to the measure of society's tape line. I refer, of course, to the titled nobility of sportdom. There is a class which bears as a qualifying adjective the substantive belonging to a wind instrument made of a cheap and base metal. But the tin mines of Cornwall never produced the material for manufacturing descriptive nomenclature for Big Jim Dougherty. The habitat of the sport is the lobby or the outside corner of certain hotels and combination restaurants and cafes. They are mostly men of different sizes, running from small to large, but they are unanimous in the possession of a recently shaven blue black cheek and chin, and dark overcoats in season with black velvet collars. Of the domestic life of the sport, little is known. It has been said that Cupid and Hymen sometimes take a hand in the game, and Copper, the queen, of hearts to lose. Darling terrorists have averred, not content with simply saying that a sport often contracts a suppose and even incurs descendants. Sometimes he sits in the game of politics, and then the chowder picnics there in a revelation of a Mrs. Sport and little sports in glazed hats with tin pails. But mostly the sport is oriental. He believes his womenfolk should not be too patent. Somewhere behind grills or flower ornamented fire escapes, they await him. There are, no doubt, they tread on rocks from Tehran and are diverted by the bulbul and play upon the dulcimer and feed upon sweetmeats. But away from his home, the sport is an integer. He does not, as men of other races in Manhattan do, become the convoy in the unoccupied hours of fluttering laces and high heels that tick off delectably the happy seconds of the evening parade. He hurts with his own race at corners and delivers a commentary in his Carib lingo upon the passing slow. But Big Jim Dougherty had a wife, but he did not wear a buttoned portrait of her upon his lapel. He had a home in one of those brownstone iron railed streets in the west side that looked like a recently excavated bowling alley of Pompeii. To this home of his, Mr. Dougherty repaired each night when the hour was so late as to promise no further diversion in the arch, the mains of sport. By that time, the occupant of the monogamistic harem would be in dreamland, the bulbul silenced, and the hour propitious for slumber. Big Jim always arose at 12 meridian for breakfast, and soon afterward he would return to the rendezvous of his crowd. He was always vaguely conscious that there was a Mrs. Dougherty he would have received without denial the charge that the quiet, neat, comfortable little woman across the table at home was his wife. In fact, he remembered pretty well that they had been married for nearly 4 years. She would often tell him about the cute tricks of Spot, the canary, and the light-haired lady that lived in the window of the flat across the street. Big Jim Dougherty even listened to this conversation of hers sometimes. He knew that she would have a nice dinner ready for him every evening at 7 when he came for it. She sometimes went to Martinez, and she had a talking machine with 6 dozen records. Once, when her Uncle Amos blew in on a wind from upstate, she went with him to the Eden Museum. Surely these things were diversions enough for any woman. One afternoon, Mr. Dougherty finished his breakfast, put on his hat, and got away fairly for the door. When his hand was on the knob, he heard his wife's voice. "Jim," she said firmly, "I wish you would take me out to dinner this evening. It has been 3 years since you have been outside the door with me." Big Jim was astounded. She had never asked anything like this before. It had the flavor of the totally new proposition. But he was a game sport. "All right," he said. "You be ready when I come at 7. None of this. Wait 2 minutes till I primp an hour or two. Kind of business. Now, Deli." "I'll be ready," said his wife calmly. At 7 she descended the stone steps in the Pompeian bowling alley at the side of Big Jim Dougherty. She wore a dinner gown made of a stuff that the spiders must have woven, and of a color that the twilight sky must have contributed. A light coat with many admirably unnecessary capes and adorably inutile ribbons floated downward from her shoulders. Fine feathers do make fine birds, and the only reproach in the saying is for the man who refuses to give up his earnings to the ostrich tip industry. All right, guys. That was the first part of this story. It's not gonna be a long story. We're gonna finish it tomorrow. But anyway, we're gonna have a break and continue tomorrow. See you there. Thank you for joining. Bye.